day, everybody. This is the Ecclesiarch here, back with some more Horus Heresy Legions. And as promised, I will be continuing with Shadalan's card demonstrations. And this time it's going to be for the Traitors. So last time we covered the Loyalists, and today we're going to be covering the Traitor factions. There's a little bit less of these because in general there are less Traitor factions than the Loyalist ones, as you can see. So, yeah. We're gonna go through it in order, just like last time. I believe you guys did enjoy the design of the previous cards. And now I'm going to show you his design of the Traitor cards. And they are no less interesting than the Loyalists. And let's actually start from Sons of Horus, just like in the order. And we have the 5th company captain, Sofar Berudin. I think it's Sofar or Jofar. I'm not sure. Let's just call it Berudin. So 35 health, medium initiative, and a very interesting thing here. Play a copy of the next tactic you play this turn that targets an enemy or a friendly unit on each other eligible enemy or friendly unit respectively. So this might be a little hard to understand, but let me explain for those of you who don't get what it is. So basically when you use that tactic, what's going to happen is, let's say for example you use a Furious Shooting. And so you use the ability and you play this on the enemy warlord. It's going to be replayed once on every single eligible unit that the enemy has on the board. So for example, if he has like 2 more cards, like if he has a Legionary Her and Menato squad, once you play this on the warlord, it's going to be replayed once on the Her and once on the Menato squad. And if we are buffing something, so let's say for example, do Sons of Horus actually have single target buffs? Well, anyway, let's imagine that we do. So if they play a single target buff on a unit, it's going to be also replayed on other units as well. So this can give us a number of very interesting interactions, including with Crush the Weak. You could essentially just wipe the whole board of the enemy with that for 7 energy. So it's like a 7 energy Great Tithe without, not Great Tithe, more like the Conqueror that Angron had, but you know, it's only going to work on enemy units. So this could be really, really strong. On the other side, you also have the Lupercal Perseverant that's going to be played on every single unit. So yeah, that's pretty sick. Essentially, what you would probably want to do with this Warlord, as I'm thinking, you would want to get all the possible nukes, like Furious Shooting, sorry, Lupercal Perseverant, and there's not a lot more in Sons of Horus, but you could go into neutrals essentially and you can see some stuff that you could play. For example, if you were to place like something like Defiant Stand, it would be played on your whole board. So if you were playing like a Solar Auxilia build, you could actually use this and all your Solar Auxilia would gain Frontline and Survivor 1. So that sounds pretty interesting. What does Palace Gate do? Okay, this is not targetable. Let's see. Do we have a single target? Yeah, Avenger Strike, for example. This could also be played against the whole board. You could play Infiltration Mission on the whole board, so you would jam the whole enemy board, essentially. I guess it would not count as warded units and stealth unit as eligible, so you would not be able to infiltrate like stealth units. You could also play something like Underworld War as well. Not Underworld War, sorry, Traitors Demise. So you could essentially do it on the whole board. You know what you could do with this? As I'm understanding, what you really could do, for example, let's say Tybalt is this new warlord, right? The things that you would really want to do here is probably you want to go more for nukes. There are other interesting things as well that you can do, like buffs. But the first thing that comes into my mind is like get the Furious Shooting, get the Lupercal Perseverant, and then of course you're gonna need Command Breach and Void Engagement because you're kind of playing like a tactic thing. You could do Athame as well to return all the troops in your hand, but I don't think this is like I don't think this is really that good. That would be a little bit of a waste. So what else you could do pretty much is you could take some things that are targetable. For example, Wonders of Tiska could also be interesting, healing your whole board for 4 energy. Warp Assault could be absolutely nuts because this could create so many lesser demons in your hand that it's absolutely crazy. And just imagine what could happen with Planetary Purge. You would definitely want to have this because this would be like a biggest meme ever. Like, enemy has a board full of stuff. You play the ability, you play Planetary Purge, and Planetary Purge gets played on everything, I guess. So how would that work? Would the first one first start jumping around, or would it cast all the Planetary Purges, and then you would have, like, if there's 5 units, 5 instances of 4 damage hitting random targets? That would be absolutely crazy. So this is like mad nuts, man. This could be like super crazy, honestly. What else could you use here? The other thing that you could probably do is where was that? So Avenging Strike would definitely be good because it's gonna be AoE. You could get Infiltration Mission, that would certainly be good. Traitors Demise could be nice because it would be like a free bird control, and you would probably want to have Crucial Choice on this deck because it could give you like stuff like from other factions, and you could replay, like, you could get buffs, or you could get like things like that. It could be pretty crazy because, like, just imagine for a second you get like a Contrador and play like 10 Contradors or something. Okay, not 10, but let's say 3-4 Contradors. That would also be nuts. So this looks like a very crazy warlord to me. Honestly speaking, this could actually create a pretty toxic archetype for Sons of Horus. I just want to see if there's like Auxilia. Wait, is there like any single target buffs for Auxilia except Defiant Stand? Soul Garrison is not targeted, so you cannot do that. So yeah, there's not a lot of ways to buff your units, but it could certainly be like a crazy combo with Planetary Purge and stuff like that. That would be pretty sick. So yeah, that's how I could imagine that warlord. I think it would be pretty toxic at some points. I don't know, just it's my gut telling me, but seems like a pretty interesting thing, 100%. Now let's move to World Eaters, because for World Eaters we got a super interesting thing. So we got a medium initiative 35 health warlord, which is Vostigar, Catacled Ares, the exiled captain. So essentially what it can do for 0 energy, it can give frontline until your next turn, so to the target unit, not the target troop. So it also has your savage abilities activate when attacked and not when attacking. So this essentially makes the abuse that you probably thought of is instantly very difficult. For example, like a lot of people probably thought, okay, I'll just play Sergeant Drach and I'm gonna get like front line and it's gonna destroy stuff. No, you have to attack the unit in order to make it work. So Sergeant Drach could actually be the target of that front line. However, as it is with most frontline warlords, I think one of the best things that you could do is build this guy for something like Solar Auxilia or Imperial Army. So this is how I would actually go. I was actually typing the name, oh my god. So this is how I would actually okay, there you go, build this warlord. So let's just imagine once again this is that. One of the things that you could certainly do is you could try to play Chosen of the Corn, because that way you could use like Yokara and stuff like that. But what I think I would do is I would go for Solar Auxilia first of all, with Solar Pattern obviously, because you could easily complete that mission by getting the front line. So you know, you would get the standard stuff. You would get the Medicae, you would get the Auxiliary Primus, Las Rifle section, maybe forward section as well, Ensign. Sergeant is also pretty good. You would get Nyora obviously, because like if you can get like front line is absolutely nuts. Vexillarius would be really good, and Marcus Valerius, right? Maybe you would also want to get something like Ignis Vincit and maybe one Stormhammer if you want to have a late game. So I would certainly build a warlord like this. Maybe get one Souls Garrison just for the buff. But on top of that, what we probably would do is we would get some things from the deck that can be abused with frontline. Like Apothecary Larsak could absolutely be nuts. Sergeant Drach would be pretty good because you're essentially forcing them to attack Sergeant Drach, which is really good. What else would you do? What else has very good savage? Like you could do, look at this. You could play the Gem Vindicator, because for 7 energy it would essentially be a front line, and whenever your opponent would attack it, this would deal a lot of damage. So you could, not the Parabellum probably, you could play a Gem Vindicator, for example. That would be pretty interesting. Or Ancient Thaxos could also be pretty good. Look at this. So whenever they attack this thing, it's going to deal 3 damage to the to all attackers. So for your late game, essentially, you could play these things and it would be so friggin' interesting, right? I don't think it would be like super necessary to play any of these rage units. Maybe you could get a Spiteful Challenge, because why the hell not? It's invulnerability, so it's really good. And you're probably just gonna need some card draw. You have a great like card draw ability for Solar Auxilia, Strategic Reserves, or you could go for the World Eater's card draw, which is where's that thing again? Which is the Red Claw Storm Eagle, right? Which could definitely still be pretty good because it works for troops. Sandscour jet bikes could also be nice. Maybe even you wouldn't go for Strategic Reserves and you would go for jet bikes. So this is what the deck would actually look like, and I think it would be a very strong and very interesting deck. This will be like absolutely different from whatever you play currently with the World Eaters. So yeah, that's certainly a pretty cool idea. Gotta delete it now because that's not the type of card that I would probably want to play, right? Since he doesn't have the front line. So the next one, of course, is the Emperor's Children. And for the Emperor's Children, once again, there is a very interesting thing, and it's none other than Ancient Rylanor the Unyielding. So Rylanor with low initiative gains a shield, and next time deals 1 damage to a random enemy. But look at this. For each time you triggered Perfection this game. That is absolutely nuts. So every single time he uses his ability, it's gonna feed off the Perfection. Now, I don't even think we need to build anything to demonstrate, to understand how exactly we would want to play this. You would want to get as many Perfection units as you could. Essentially, like playing even stuff like Luastu Squad, for example. Maybe even get like all of the vehicles there, get the Chariot jet bikes as well. You could play Unrestrained Cruelty. You could also play the Cacophony if you want, because every single time you would play something for Perfection, it would just buff your Warlord ability. So what you would probably do is you would go for as many Perfection units as possible, and you would also get orders from Terra. Now, you would get orders from Terra because, like, with this ability, you can essentially one-shot the Warlord in the late game. Like, even if you have, like... just imagine you play the Luminol, right? And you've already played, let's say, 5 Perfection units. You deal 6 damage to the enemy Warlord if his board is empty. That is very, very nuts. This would also, of course, be kind of counteracted by the fact that he has low initiative. Plus, he cannot use it every turn, so one turn he needs to shield up, then he needs to use it. So he's kind of slow. And against stuff like World Eaters, this is like suicidal because you can just trigger the rage like a billion times. But this is really, really good, man. This is super. I would certainly play this probably over any other Emperor's Children Warlords, simply first of all because how cool Rylanor itself is, because you guys, you know, Rylanor is just extremely cool. Alright, and not only because of that, because the ability is super cool, right? So you'll have 2 reasons. Next, we're gonna go for the Death Guard. So we're gonna have Merrick Voyant, the Questing Apothecary, who has, whenever you play a tactic, can act once more. And with 0 energy, heal 1 to a friendly unit. This is a very interesting case. What I think you could do with something like this is the following. Like, imagine for a second you got very high survivability. Let's imagine it's Hadrapulus Voss. The thing that you would really want to do here is you would need Toxic Blessings, right? So I would say you would get some low-level tactics like Leech Life, Toxic Blessing. You would want Team Eater squads that can generate those tactics. You could get like the standard poison stuff with Fatal Harvest, because you would have some poisonous units. You could also play Typhon's Finest, a copy, because of it's a tactic. But the main thing that I'm thinking about, like, if it has such a good survivability, you could get like stuff like Embrace Toxicity, And you could get the gift of fortitude. Like, the gift of fortitude could be like very, very good, because with these things you could just buff up your units with the toxic blessing, which is like +2 health. So you could drop something that already has high health and maybe low HP, like let's say Praetor Haplan or Rotikor Squad. And if these things can survive, you can just buff them and then turn them, equalize it with Gift of Fortitude, and you would have like essentially a one-shot. Like, this is very similar to something that Hearthstone Priests used to play, if I remember correctly. So this would be a pretty interesting way to play the Death card, because it would not focus on just poisoning you and then finishing you off with Noxious Strikes or stacking poison or playing the Death, not Death Rattle, sorry, the Backlash that is super annoying, I can imagine, right? So it would certainly be a very interesting twist and a very interesting way to play it. You could even go for like something like Tombkeeper, because it would just drop like a Praetor Belgoth, which you could buff later on, because if you're playing this Warlord as a one-shot combo Warlord, it could certainly be a pretty interesting change. Anyway, who do we have next? The next one that we have here is going to be, the Iron Warriors. So, for Iron Warriors, there's a very cool thing. Soltar Vulbron, the Stone Rot. Soltar Vulbron, the Stone Rot, right? So, his Relentless is to deal 1 damage to a random enemy, and for 1 energy, set target troop's attack equal to its health. Yeah, that is pretty interesting. So, for the Relentless, it's really good because it helps him clear the board if, of course, he gets a little lucky. It's obviously a little RNG based. Like, if an enemy drops a 3 health unit, you can essentially remove it because the Relentless goes there. It could be good against stealth as well. But the main thing here is that this basically has the same thing as the Fortitude, right? What does the Fortitude what's the wording here? Attack the infantry to equal its current health. It's a little bit better because it's not current health, it's health. So, do Iron Warriors have anything very scary? Okay, for example, Tyranticos Veterans. But Tyranticos Veterans, no, they will take Rage and they will be equalized anyway. You know, this could be used in different ways as well. If, like, this also works on the enemy. So if the unit is damaged, you could essentially just lower its health, lower its damage to equal its health, and just dodge lethal that way. But if you want to use this on your own troop, some things that actually come in mind are demons, to be honest. Let's take a look. There's a couple of demons that can be pretty scary if you use it on it. For example, Plague Drone. Like, you drop a Plague Drone. Nobody likes Plague Drone because it does poison too. You could essentially use it and make the attack equal to 4. You could play Watchers in the Dark and you could make the attack equal to 5. You could play Beast of Pyra for that same reason. What else you could do here? Let me just quickly tell you what else you could do here. There are some other units you could certainly use it on, but one thing that instantly just came to mind was Boxophel. Like, imagine dropping this and this survives and you turn it into 13 attack. That could be so sick. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting Warlord. I'm not sure exactly how you would build it, but in my opinion, one of the things you would do is include Watchers, because it's a 5/5 basically. You would probably want to get Boxophel. It's a little slow, but it could be interesting. In vehicles, you could... Yeah, Asparog is not really that good. What else could you play from vehicles? Let's actually take a look. There could be some interesting stuff here that could provide big value. Nothing big here. What about the Imperial Army? What about the Imperial Army? Well, you could play Malkiel and have it have 3 attack if you ever need it. Plus, it's not about current health, right? It's about max health. You could play something like Lord Castellan, but Solar Auxilia wouldn't really work too well with this guy. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think what you would do with this warlord is that you would play the units that I said, like Watchers in the Dark, maybe Boxafel and so on. And essentially it could also help you just reduce the enemy attack. The lower their health gets, but it's like troop attack, of course, not warlord attack. So that would be pretty interesting. It could help you essentially control the board. You would probably play kind of like a standard Iron Warrior control deck, but instead of just focusing on blowing your enemy up with nukes, what you would do is you would focus on some more demon play. So basically you're doing the Demonkulaba. So yeah, that sounds like a pretty cool idea. I might be missing something here, of course. Maybe there was another trick behind it. But guys, please comment. Tell me what you think, because this seems like a pretty interesting warlord. And the next one is everybody's favorite, Alpha Legion. And we got Equiritu Delarax, Althis Cordazis. And his ability, of course, Secret Identity, as everything else. And whenever a troop attacks your opponent, both players draw a card and give target friendly troop stealth. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That is a pretty crazy good. I like that. So essentially you're playing a harrowing based you could play a harrowing based what's it called again? Oh my god, Alpha Legion. That is pretty good because you could choose whether or not your opponent gets to draw a card. This way, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. It's for your opponent, right? So whenever your own troop attacks like the opponent, you can choose to get cards for you and your opponent. So he's protected from overdrawing, which is really good. Because if it was like both, then like... then it would be like burning the cards for both of you and your opponent. So essentially what you want to do is you could play this guy in two ways. You could play a mixture between traps and harrowing, and you would want to have as many stealth units as possible, or units that can regain stealth. First of all, Infiltrator Silas would be pretty good because you can keep reapplying stealth on him. And like ever since the stealth was nerfed, you know, all the units lose the stealth after one turn. So you could certainly use that on both Headhunters, Force Seekers, Infiltrator, Silas. I think Silas used to lose stealth after one turn anyway. So this could be actually pretty good because what you could do is you could essentially keep those units stealth for a long time, like a Ifrit Squad, for example, but Ifrit Squad is pretty useless. And you can keep attacking with them to make the opponent draw cards and then just harrowing them. On top of that, as a secondary thing, you could also get some traps. And by being able to make them draw cards every single turn with your troops, and if we consider that every time a troop attacks, so this is not like Alfarius when you just force them to draw one card, you can essentially make them draw like 3 or 4 cards per turn based on how many units you have on board and how much control you have. So you would play a lot of stealth units here, a lot of traps and harrowing, and that would pretty much be it. That would be a very, very hard deck to deal with. Probably what I would do, let me just demonstrate that real quick. So how I would approach it. So I would get, of course, Enemy Within, False Flag, Seeds of Betrayal. Probably I wouldn't want to get Hydra Dominatus because it's a little... I don't know, guys, how to tell you about it. It's a little inconsistent because you turn to lose Sleeper Operatives because of that. So probably I wouldn't want to do that. Get an infiltration mission, or just infiltration, whatever it's called. You would want to get Bright Brand of the Hydra because it's really good. You'd get the Aleph Null Veterans. You don't really need Cyrus Squad because every unit can be a Cyrus Squad now. You could get Ghost Legionary because you could, once again, combo this really well. Because imagine, like, you attack with units and this gets buffed. Silas, for sure, for Tronus Veterans. You could also get Pale Spear because you'd have a ton of card draw. I'm not sure about this one, though. Get some Force Seekers, get the Headhunter Squad, probably get the Lambda Thunderhawk. Maybe get this and get Harrowing, and now it's a little too much. So let's ditch one Hunter and get Auto on Score. Something like this, probably. This is how I imagine it. So it would be a very good mixture between traps and harrowing. And you would have like multiple annoying win conditions, like forcing the enemy to draw through sleeper operatives, through like ghost legionaries. So you could benefit a lot of ways from essentially just smacking the opponent. So yeah, by smacking I mean like making them draw more and more cards. Okay, now it's for the Night Lords, everybody's favorites. So, Night Lords. For Night Lords, we got a pretty cool warlord here, which is Captain Narak the Bloodless. So, his resolution is to deal 1 damage to your opponent for every enemy troop. Oh, so, as I understand, to your opponent means to the enemy warlord. So, every single turn, you essentially deal as much damage as the enemy has like troops. So if they have swarmed the board, it's 3 damage. It's good that this is resolution, not relentless, because essentially you get a choice every turn. Do you want to take out their units and deal less damage, or do you want to leave them and deal more damage? That's pretty interesting. And you also have choose a card in your opponent's hand and increase the cost by 1 to a maximum of 10. Yeah, that's pretty nuts. That's pretty interesting. So, what would you do with this guy? So, he's good at late game, right? So, this is, first of all, what you would want to do with this. This is what I'm thinking. So, first off, what you certainly need here is energy manipulation. So, not asteroid belt, oh my god. Drilling site. And Arvus Lighter. You really want to do this because apparently your warlord power is pretty important, because this is permanent. So you're permanently making things cost more for the guy, right? You'd probably want to get standard stuff like Dirty Fighter, maybe Condrayer Squad, and one of this. You would want to get Mercy and Forgiveness for sure. This could get very ugly. Threk Squad. You would probably get Endor Shrek. You would get Headsman. You probably would not get Haunted Dreams because you're playing a little bit more for late game, right? As I understand. Maybe get 1 Night Sight, 1 Reaper. Vakur. You could even go for stuff like Vakuran, honestly, here. I'm kind of stuck, though. I'm kind of stuck in a sense, like... What's our win condition? Oh, I got an idea. So you could get civilians. Yeah, civilians. This is what you could do. You could certainly have like displaced civilians and that. And you could have Vish Fierce Onslaught. Yeah, that's so sick. Like, imagine you got 2 very cool things. You could play civilians just to deal a lot of damage to the enemy warlord. So essentially, if you can fill up the board, that's 6 damage. That's pretty sick. And on top of that, you could, if that doesn't work, you can always use them with a Fierce Onslaught to make your Vakuran or your Endor Shrek stronger. So that could be pretty sick. So I think that's what you're playing for. You're essentially playing with displaced civilians. You could also do Punitive Action, obviously, but that's for friendly units. Yeah, you could still use Punitive Action. Why not with the civilians? That could actually work pretty well. You'll probably need some card draw. So get the Curse of Foresight, and as the last unit you would pretty much get whatever you want. This could be a pretty interesting way to play Night Lords, honestly. I like it. It could be pretty strong as well. Very well, now for my personal favorites, the Thousand Suns. For the Thousand Suns, you have something that I'm surprised is not in the game yet, considering there's Canis Vertex in the game. So we basically have Halophis, the Magister of the Pyrrhia cult, and yeah, as you expect, he has the ability to turn into Canis Vertex. Now, when he turns into Canis Vertex, as Shadalan told me, he only heals 5, just like standard Whispers, and he will summon the arms and weapons of the Canis Vertex if there is room. So essentially, as much room as you have, it will summon it. And look at this. He essentially needs 18 Psyker to do that, but look at what he has here. Psyker 1, and for 2 Psyker, deal 1 damage to all other non-vehicle units in hand and play. Holy shit. This includes yours as well as the opponent's. Oh my god. That is so nuts. That is so nuts. What would we do with that guy? What would we do with that guy? First of all, you would need a lot of ways of getting your Psyker. So City of Light double essentially will be, as well as like what's that thing called? Derailment. These would be very important. These would be very important because using your psychic powers, if you turn into Canis Vertex, you would essentially be able to use your psychic powers, like spam it with the shield and everything, which Canis Vertex normally cannot do because he has very limited psychic energy, right? Since you're playing for such high amount of Psyker, you need the generations, so you're gonna need Legionary Tulek, for example. There are some things that you 100% are gonna include, like Tulek and Meketre, 1 Angtao, perhaps Pentu Dast. But look at this, like you of course gonna need Izakar Ore as well. But look at this, the Ahriman Cabal and Hidden One is gonna be a little bit tricky. Let me explain why. It's a little bit tricky because you're also dealing damage to your units as well. So if you keep damaging your Hidden Ones and Ahriman's Cabal, it's not gonna be pretty. However, you could play some vehicles with this, which could be very interesting. You could like go for stuff like the Car Speeder, obviously, and probably you would need like something like Prosperine Lore, as I'm understanding. That could be pretty good. So essentially what you could do with this is you want to gather a ton of psychic energy. That could be done through Cabal and other stuff. Maybe you would even want to have Flesh Change with you. And if you want to have Flesh Change, you would need something like Kelmec squads, but there's the problem. You would have to be very smart, or Amuni squad, you would have to be very smart in how you are gonna be using those abilities, because your psychic power deals damage to everything, right? So you would probably go for a bit of a vehicle deck here. Maybe get Voraxes and maybe do the Castiel Illustri plus for example, where's that stupid stuff? Acheronian Secutor or stuff like that. This is pretty difficult to understand, because one way you could go for a vehicle deck with this, and vehicle deck could be pretty good because you can kill the enemy hand like this way. Depending on what they have, like you could essentially just destroy Kaizu Lane or whatever right in their hand if they don't play carefully, right? And vehicles could survive. That could be one. The other way could be to just ramp up your Psyker and just turn into Canis Vertex. So in that case, you would try not to use your psychic power too much, so that you don't destroy your own psychic generator units. This could be a very, very interesting and very difficult warlord to build, but I think one of the ways you would build this is you would play him on vehicles, because you could keep spamming this and destroying the enemy hand while you are retaining your hand and just playing vehicles and they're not getting damaged. So that could be pretty sick, and that would mean if this warlord would become meta, other vehicle warlords would also become meta just to counter it. So that would be pretty interesting. Now, Wordbearers. Okay, so Barthuza Narek, Hidden Loyalist. Whenever a friendly troop dies, the rest of the time your warlord ability deals damage. Sorry, I got a little stuck here. So whenever a friendly troop dies, the next time your warlord ability deals damage, it deals one more. So essentially, I just couldn't read it correctly. And the ability is to gain stealth and next time deal 1 damage to another target unit. So basically, you are Exodus. You're Exodus. And what you want to do is you want to get a lot of things like Boradil Squad, Zealots, Hesugal Squad. Jesus Christ. So look at this. Through Hesugal Squad, Boradil Squad, that's already 5 damage. If you play 2 of these, that's 10 damage. So the more the game drags on and more cultists and stuff that you play, the more terrifying this game becomes, because you can just finish out your opponent off from like 20 health. Jesus Christ. You would play this for cultists. You would certainly play this for cultists. Wordbearers. What you would do is you would get stuff like this for sure. You're just trying to get as many units get killed as possible. Like, you would even get Gorlem Squad. Sor Bakpal, obviously. Book of Lorgar would still be nice. Jadima Squad. You could get Selithion Squad as well, and you would want to have some drilling sites. Destiny's Hand, 1 copy. Camiel, maybe Kutra said. But you would also want to get the Cultists, right? You would want to get like something like Preacher of Doom. You would certainly want to get Traitor Crew, and you certainly want to get Wounded Zealot if it still existed, but it does not exist. Wait a minute, if Wounded Zealot doesn't exist, what the hell does this summon? What? I didn't know, I didn't think about that. Righteous Zealot. Oh no, Righteous Zealot exists? Ah, it doesn't exist, but it's like, you cannot choose to add it to your deck, but it still summons those. Okay, sure, fair enough. So you could essentially get anything that summons more units when it gets destroyed. You could even get an Arcology, like corrupt version or non-corrupt version, doesn't really matter. I think the other version is better because it just summons so many units. Yeah, you could play Arcology, then sacrifice that Arcology. Oh my god, there's like so much that you could do with this. And Blessing of the Four you would get there. You could essentially get Arcology here. And what you could do is you could sacrifice your Arcology. Maybe with something like Zealous Fawn. No, this is just the Startisan Infantry. I don't know, man. This is so crazy. You could essentially do a self-sacrifice deck where you want as many units to die as possible and go face and then just blow the enemy up from 100 to 0. Crazy stuff. That's how I would play that. Like, as many cultists as I can just to sacrifice, and that would pretty much be it. Alright, I believe we are at the end, so the final thing that we got here is going to be the Ruin Storm, and Ruin Storm really needs some love, man. They've been nerfed into the ground, and essentially they're trying to this faction has received bazillion nerfs, and Korvax and Kabanda are still the only one that's playable, so yeah, not the best balancing for them, I guess. But yeah, we have basically Skrull Bar, the Unbound Choice. The Unbound Choice. Unstoppable. Your mutation effects, choose from all 10 and you draw a card. This is the perfect warlord for Ruinstorm. And you know what the best part is? You essentially are not gonna do anything different with this. This is gonna be a very standard Ruinstorm. The only thing that you would probably want to do is you want to get some demons there as well, because as you know, the mutations reduce the maintenance, so you would get like stuff like Bloodmasters, you could get Drachnian, for example, Thishailal, and other things like that. You could get some greater demons if you want, like Boxafel or something. And, you know, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day what you get, but I think just getting some Chaos Demons would be good. I would certainly go for Bloodmasters, maybe Drachnian, maybe Khazrak, and Thishailal, or anything else that you really want. Remnant is useless, this is not bad, this is maybe, and you could go for Boxafel as well if you really wanna. So I think this would be a standard Ruinstorm deck, but it would be a good Ruinstorm deck, because Ruinstorm's main struggle is card draw. They run out of cards pretty easily. This warlord would have a card draw, and mutations would never be so random again. So you could choose a mutation, so any mutation, so whenever you play something you could do a ward on it. So basically this is play Demon Chosen, win the game. Okay, I'm joking, it's not like that, but it would be very hard to fight this. This would be very similar to like how the release Kabanda was, but being less monkey and actually requiring more skills. So yeah, that's how it would be built. Like, we don't really need to demonstrate that. Is the standard Ruinstorm plus added with some demons. I don't know, man. I think those are some really crazy warlords. To be honest, I like some of these more than the loyalist ones because of how crazy and more difficult to build these are. The loyalist ones were really strong and good, but these ones I like more because building them is a little harder than the other ones. So yeah, please comment what you think, guys. Tell me if you like Shadowlands cards and if you would like more of these things to be showcased later on. By the way, there is going to be an orc video dropping very soon for Warpforge and for Horus Heresy Legions. I'm still thinking, but I do want to make a sanguineous deck if possible. So we'll see. Thank you very much, guys, and see you in the next one.